Hello, lovely Gemini. I feel like laughing because as soon as I thought to do Gemini, the song that came into my head was an old song I remember hearing from childhood. Lazy bones sleeping in the sun. How you ever going to get your day's work done? And I'm laughing because Gemini is one of the least lazy signs I can imagine, I can think of. Unlike many of the other air signs, Gemini, you do seem to have the ability to not just be in your head, but to translate it quite immediately into action. And action, it doesn't even have to be big action, it's just movement. You want to be in movement a lot. Some of the other signs want to be in movement in their head. You want to be in movement physically. It suits you. And that means that you often are very much connected to community and people around you in a way that some other signs aren't. And it doesn't mean that you're necessarily bosom buddies with everybody, but you are an integral part of the fabric of whatever community you're in. Again, this will not be for every Gemini, and this is for the week of July 7th or whenever it resonates. The thing about this is, Spirit really wants you to actually take a rest. Because you can be so used to movement that when you stop, you stop. You stop cold. And it may not be for a long time, but you need to stop. And it's taken you a while for you to be able to figure out that that's actually okay and that that is part of your rhythm. That's part of how you regenerate and take care of yourself. So what Spirit is saying is, please notice you've got... can't and won't, but do I want to? So what this says to me is there are going to be things coming up for you where you are going to have options, and it's going to be important for you to really center into yourself, to stop long enough that you can actually feel what it is you want to do. Because not every offer, not every option, obviously, is going to be the best one for you. You will have choices. But please trust that by being in touch with your intuition and by deliberately engaging yourself in dialogue with your higher self and with the universe around you, that you are going to have a good understanding of what it is you need. The thing that you're being asked to really be aware of is when these things come to you, notice where your tendency to answer comes from a reaction rather than a response, and how much of that goes back to an upbringing and an old pattern of being rather than who you are today. Okay? Because you've done a lot of growing. That card just flipped out, and it doesn't feel relevant, so we're going to see if it comes up again. When it comes to, but do I want to? And when it comes to options and choices, you may not be clear on what you want, but be clear about the fact that you don't know what you want, so that you don't leave people guessing and you don't leave yourself having that channel open where you're feeling like, I need to answer. Allow yourself, give yourself time, and let them know, whoever it is, that you are giving yourself time. So, yes. There is sometimes fear around taking time, taking the luxury of time, because your mind moves quickly. It feels like sometimes like you have to make decisions quickly in keeping with that, but you don't. You really, really don't. And people don't generally expect you to make decisions like that. You can give yourself time. Because giving yourself time is going to give you a chance to really get in touch with what you're feeling. And once you really are aware of what you're feeling, you're quite able to articulate that. Sometimes the articulation is not always clear to people around you, but often that's because your mind is moving faster than your words. Whereas if you would stop and slow down beforehand, before you try to give an answer to something, you will have slowed down long enough to really know what it is you want to say. And then you're perfectly articulate. Okay? So you are going to find potentially that some of the structures that you've been working with, either mentally, emotionally, or physically, economically, might be feeling a little tight at certain points. And I feel like this is going on longer than just a week. I feel like this is coming up. And that's all right. Don't worry about that, because what do we know? When a structure becomes too tight for us, it's a sign that we've grown to the edge of something in ourselves. And now we get to look at that and say, where do I want to? Where do I want to go? Okay? And the thing also is what I'm getting really quite clearly is you don't always identify fear as a motivating factor. It can come in the form of over worry or fear or over analysis or avoidance of a situation. So what you're being told here, Gemini, is as an air sign, you tend to be up in your head a lot. And you're not necessarily in touch with a lot of the more grounded energies where you experience fear. Is your root chakra. Your root chakra has the emotional polarity of fear and courage. And you don't necessarily, because you sometimes, I'm going to speak now in a coherent manner. Maybe I was just channeling some Gemini there. No offense. Sometimes what happens is you are so much in your head that you cease to really be able to identify emotions that are associated with more grounded energy, such as fear. So you might not identify it as fear. You might just identify it as, well, of course, I'm thinking, I'm analyzing, I'm doing this. When you can allow yourself to really identify the fear that's underlying some of that overthinking, overanalysis, what it can really help you do is understand where some of those patterns that make it difficult for you to ground and difficult for you to slow down, where they come from. And that's a good thing, because Gemini, we also we also know that you don't always have an easy time anchoring into joyful emotions because of the stress of overthinking and overanalyzing, and much of that coming from old behaviors, old beliefs, not old behaviors, old beliefs, old thought patterns that can now kind of dictate and motivate certain behaviors that you have now. So that's one of the reasons why I want you to ground is so that you can identify the fear and not live in the fear of it. Some of you will live in the fear of it. Some of you are aware of an anxiety that is really fear-based. What Spirit would like to say is that by grounding and by checking in with these things that they've talked about, by creating the opportunity for you to slow down and to have it be okay for you to slow down and actually stop sometimes, is going to allow you to see beyond the fear. Because the thing with fear is, it's not usually the fear that's the issue. It's the fear of what we might have to deal with emotionally if it comes up. And the reality is that often, once those things are allowed to come up, they're dispelled right away. They're gone. But if we keep the fear in place as a way of keeping them down, we never get to explore them, and we never get to release them. So this is really giving you the opportunity in many ways, Gemini, to be able to develop a new relationship to fear so that you can experience a more full palette of emotion and a more empowering one. And I want to start with a song. You are not a lazy bones if you sleep in the sun for a while and choose not to get any work done for the day. Spirit supports you in that beautiful hammock. Well, maybe not the sun, maybe the shade, eh? Okay. Take it easy, Gemini. Much love.